Origin channel home studio reacts, and this is how a camel's bad habit can put you in a coffin by the channel Camel geographic. Yeah, it's another geographic video. I love it whenever this pops up because nowadays it's like the theme. There is a proper theme to his videos rather than just compilation from his TikTok videos. I think that's what it is, right? Yeah. Now he's I guess primarily making YouTube videos or something. I don't know. But yeah, the theme is good, right? He's starting to make like widescreen videos now. Also because of not TikTok, I guess. But yeah, this is gonna be fun. Let's do it.
Right, I'll just check the camera, yeah? Okay.
Damn,
right.
man.
Okay, good stuff.
Is this real?
You know they say an average of 100.
It's CGI, I promise the line, okay? Oh, and the people are alive too. But goddamn, I'm like, no way that interaction ends well, right? Even if they have rifle, what are they, fucking John Wick? At that close range, what the fuck they're gonna do? I think, I would have heard of the news, 2 people getting mauled by a lion. So, no, of course that's CGI.
You know they say an average of 183,671 people are added to God's recently deleted folder every day. Some of those people retired from life in some of the most outrageous ways possible. For example, vending machines and coconuts sell more real estate in cemeteries than the headliner of Jaws. But what if a can of soda was responsible for ending your way of life without you ever even drinking it? Well, Richard Molesky was the owner of the Tulum Monkey Sanctuary in Mexico, and yes, a can of carbonated diabetes is why I said was. Chicago-born Molesky was a natural animal lover who worked at the sanctuary for well over a decade, where he would become close with a lot of the animals, but especially a male dromedary camel whose name was never released to the public. And every morning while doing rounds, Richard would greet the hum jockey with a can of Coca-Cola. Like clockwork, Richard would show up and the camel would enjoy his favorite soft drink. Well, one day Molesky didn't have it, and from the way the camel reacted, you would think we were talking about a different kind of Coke. The camel proceeded to maul him and even sat on him, which likely suffocated him. It took a rope tied to a pickup truck to pull the steroid llama off of him, but as you can guess, by the time they did, he was...
Is it caffeine? I think it must be caffeine, right? I know animals react differently to drugs than we do, right? Like how the antidepressant reacts different in chimpanzee. I saw the video from this channel. So I'm thinking it must be caffeine in the Coke, right? Otherwise camel won't just, lose its shit just because it didn't get another Coke. I mean, if somebody forgets to feed a camel for a few hours or something, they don't go ballistic or something. I'm pretty sure it's the caffeine. He got a high on caffeine or something.
Well, a was. Of course we'll never know exactly what went down because it was between someone who can't talk and someone who won't. But there's a good chance a coked out camel canned a man over some sugar water. And I believe it because camels 100% be on that kind of time.
Damn,
like they're chill 90% of the time, it's just that 10% where someone ends the day on a newspaper. Like one time in Rajasthan, India, a man was entertaining guests in his home when he realized he parked his camel outside in a brutal 110-degree heat. That's 43 degrees Celsius for the rest of the world. Well, apparently 6 hours of sun only breeds homicidal intent because as the man tried to untie the camel suplexed him and slammed him into the ground. The camel then proceeded to divorce the man's head from his body using his teeth. It took about 25 people and several hours just to get the camel to stop ravaging his owner's corpse. That's why you don't beef with something that chews on cactuses like candy. Because some animals are very much capable of seeking revenge, and camels are very much on that list. Which shouldn't really be a surprise since high intelligence means some animals have the capacity to experience every human emotion. Which includes putting the in vindictive. Even something like an ant can have as much of a revenge arc as a human. Kidnapping and slavery aren't foreign concepts to ants.
Yeah, ants. I will never be surprised by anything the ants do. But at this point, I will never be surprised by that. Yeah, because that sold me on that shit. But with the camel thing, there's a reason why certain movies like Star Wars and shit, where you see certain animals that are just zen, and not angry, just calm, but they can also lose their shit and in horde attacks. And where do you think that trope comes from? Big animals like camels and shit, they're not, it's not like they can't attack or something or they can't get angry. It's just, they usually don't unless you provoke them really badly. If you put a camel in 43 degrees outside, and Rajasthan, that's like mostly desert type of place, right? So that 43 degrees stings, right? It's not just about the temperature too at that point. So yeah, obviously when that happens, even the camel's like, what the fuck, this is too much. So when you piss off a camel, of course it's gonna look at the size of it.
Some species will regularly invade the nests of others, slaughter the workers, and abduct the larvae of the enemy.
Yeah.
These captive ants are forced to bring food to their masters, care for the brood, and even defend the nest of the very ants that kidnapped them. Well, in many cases, these slave ants grow up and proceed to destroy as many of the colony's babies as possible. Pretty much they Django a daycare's worth of the pupae of the ants that stole them. In some cases, up to 2/3 of the colony were relieved from life by the former slave ants. It's like I've always said, if ants had nukes, they'd end the entire world in a weekend. And if they were human-sized, our president would have 6 legs. And honestly, ant society is just a video of its own. We are talking about an animal that has a species that'll turn itself into a tactical just to stop the ops from succeeding. Ant society is something out of a simulation, and with a game like the Ants Underground Kingdom, you get a chance to experience it firsthand without the added risk of kamikazing yourself. It's actually the world's first ant-themed strategy mobile game with millions of players already online. You can hatch and raise your own ant army, including a class of special ants with special abilities. You're free to design and explore ant nests for your ant militia to live in. And when you're not doing that, you get the chance to show a lizard just what an affiliated ant army can do. Or to give a mantis an actual reason to start praying. And if you have a fear of spiders, then this game might be the best form of therapy you can get. And with the cold times on the come up, the Ants Underground Kingdom has just released a brand new winter version, Snowfall.
If you have arachnophobia, whatever that is, fear of spiders, it's not just fear of, oh, I'm afraid of it, it might kill me. It's fear of just looking at it too. Like, it's creepy to people, right? So even in the game, if you see spiders, even if you kill it, like, do you think people who have arachnophobia were fine playing Skyrim because in the first stage you kill a giant spider? It's still a giant spider. They'll be like, what the fuck?
This game was awarded the best game changer of 2021 by Google Play, and with stunning graphics and enticing gameplay, it's no mystery why. And as a special thank you for all the support they've received, the Ants Underground Kingdom will be opening up a Black Friday store from November 22nd to the 27th. It's only available once a year, so once it's gone, it's gone. So to see life through an ant's eyes, and to see just how screwed humanity would be if ants were in our weight class, make sure you download the Ants Underground Kingdom using the link in the description. And if you use my personal redeem code CASUALANTS, you'll receive 50 eggs which you can use to cop purple special ants and other neat prizes. Now, if one of those eggs happens to be stolen, it might be lights out for your entire kingdom, because ants don't play about theirs. Lots of animals don't. There's a lot of animals capable of premeditating and executing acts of revenge. Like, you probably already know that crows can remember faces and carry grudges for up to and sometimes over 5 years. But they'll also pass down their prejudices to their children, so you could really catch a feathery fade over something you did to his crow father. The flip side is that crows also remember those who did right by them. So if I ever happen to get arrested, it'll likely be for using Wendy's fries to weaponize crows. But I'd advise you not to underestimate the carnage that comes with beefing with the Black Air Force of the sky. Once upon a time, a man named Shiva Kawat attempted to save a baby bird he found near his home. Despite his best efforts, the chick didn't make it. And even though his intentions were good, all the neighboring crows saw was a past tense baby crow in his hands, and that's when violence was selected. For the next 3 years, he'd get air jumped every time he left his house by a homicide of crows. Like, to the point where he has scars and has to travel with a stick to protect himself against the aerial onslaught. So basically, if he would have let that baby crow expire, his quality of life would probably be higher. Expiration of life is the only conclusion.
No, but you don't understand. I was trying to save it. Like, what? What'd you say? We are intelligent, but we can understand you. We're gonna attack you. I'm not gonna lie, that shit is just like, that just surprises me, right? Just witnessing that is just fucking ridiculous. I bet you, if you, one of those things, like those question thing, do Americans know history, this and that, right? I've just read a few videos of that. If you do that to people and just ask them, what do you think of crows, right? What is their ability? How much grudge do you think they can keep? Can they remember things? Can they attack you later on? Everybody would say, no, that's human-like behavior. But holy shit, crows do that, right? I mean, this is ridiculous, right? Crows actually remember, if, like he said, remember shit for generations or something, right? So if somebody just attacks crow's nest or something, like, near the home or something, they'll avoid it or something, that area, because they know this is not the area to go, it's not safe or something. And if you, mark, like he said, one of the crows somehow, accidentally or whatever, they'll remember that and attack you. Holy shit.
When you beef with a buffalo. I'm gonna keep this brief because I've talked about them before, but basically the Cape Buffalo is a 1,200-pound John Wick. Not only will injured buffalo literally die trying to drag you down with him, just like crows, the Cape Buffalo will ride for theirs. In 2020, trophy hunter Claude Clayhans took down a massive male Cape Buffalo. But as he and his crew started loading the soul-evacuated buffalo onto his truck, another buffalo from the same herd pulled up and gored him, in the groin no less, which severed his femoral artery and sealed his fate. There have been reports of these trench cows chasing hunters into trees and then camping under the trees just waiting to cut them from Earth's roster. And like I said, it's not just humans getting hunted.
I mean, yeah, look, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm never gonna say something about somebody dying, right? It's inappropriate. But if you die because a buffalo gorged you to death because you kill one of its buffalo for a hunting sport, I mean, at that point, I have not much of sympathy, right? Why the fuck people go to the wilds, take a big ass rifle and kill a lion, a buffalo, whatever? Look at that. Look at the hunting trophy. Man, fuck you. What's wrong with you?
Hunted. Since Cape Buffalo had been known to uno reverse lions by waiting for the adults to go off on hunts just so they can turn the unsupervised lion cubs into wet spots. If elephants don't forget, then the Cape Menace doesn't forgive. And you'd be surprised at just how many animals are smart enough to pay you what you're owed. Like, I bet you weren't expecting octopus to be in a video like this. Well, roll the tape. It turns out octopus and some fish will work
I've seen
together
that
to
every
hunt,
time
and
it's just
Squidwards
funny.
of the sea will occasionally uppercut their co-workers to keep them from cheating them out of food. It's also believed that the octopi that have been exploited in the past are more trigger happy with their tentacles. Of course, there's also a good chance that octopi might Tyson fish purely out of spite, but punishing someone for someone else's crime technically still counts as revenge. Also, cephalopods can be just as spiteful with each other. Like here, where a female octopus got tired of a male trying to mate with her, so she proceeded to throw silt on his face. And octopus are more than smart enough to aim their malice at people. As researchers will tell you, sometimes octopus will purposely take aim and squirt ink at the very scientists studying them. Not only that, but they'll often have specific people that they like to pick on. One octopus in an aquarium and to throw silt on his face. And octopus are more than smart enough to aim their malice at people. As researchers will
Okay, can we take a moment and appreciate that this rod here is not coming from the guy who's holding the camera? Somebody else is picking up the octopus while he's just filming it. And somehow octopus, no, this is the asshole that's doing everything, the scientist basically. Look at that, it's gonna throw at a camera, not the person, I think.
Sometimes octopus will purposely take aim and squirt ink at the very scientists studying them. Not only that, but they'll often have specific people that they like to pick on. One octopus
Yes,
in an aquarium
I think she was the one who was picking up the octopus. Yeah, throw it at him.
Dorset, England, got into the habit of super soaking anyone who would walk past his tank. Another octopus in a Santa Monica Pier aquarium flooded the place after she disassembled a valve in her tank, sending 200 gallons of water rushing onto the exhibit and office floors. And Otto the octopus flashed his middle finger to humanity when he squirted water on a nearby spotlight, short-circuiting the entire aquarium's electrical system. Workers would fix it in the morning, but since Otto would do it at night when no one was around, it took a while for him to be found out. And of course, there was that time a YouTuber tried to live stream herself eating an octopus, but the only thing he fed her was an L. So yeah, octopus have the intelligence to be on timing. But at least with them, the worst case is property damage or a suction cup to the face. Things get a lot worse when you piss off the next animal, because tigers are by far the most vengeful animals on the planet. Like the lengths they'll go to get...
If you put on a list, like literally ask everyone in the world and put on the list, like who do you not want to piss off? I think tigers would be in top 5. It's just given, like this is like the prime example of not pissing off some animal.
Even is what movies are written about. Like in 1997 when poacher Vladimir Markov shot a tiger and then stole part of its kill. His mistake was leaving the tiger with a pulse. That tiger would get him back, but it wasn't in the heat of passion like the camel. Nah, this John was premeditated. The tiger would stake out Markov's cabin and destroy anything that had the hunter's scent on it. About a day or two later, Markov would return to his cabin where he would be ambushed by the same big cat. That story ended around the same time Markov did, after he was dragged into the bushes and never came out. In another story, a poacher named...
Oh my god, that is some next level shit. This just shows you, tiger versus human, right? Even with humans' tools like guns, who would win? Tiger. Tiger fucking wins, right? Of course, not all the time, when tiger doesn't see it coming. But if tiger survives, I mean, even with your guns and tools, it will literally sense you, smell you, and basically hunt you down. Before you realize it attacks you and holy shit, right? I'm just imagining the tiger sitting there in the cabin like one of those movie scenes and just, starts the lamp. I've been waiting for you.
named Baby got put in the dirt by a male tiger in March of 2016. Why is that date important? Well, only a month before, he had murked a female tiger in the same area, leading many to believe that the tiger that packed him up was actually the mate of the cat he had killed.
Damn.
And if you need more proof that a tiger taking it personal leads to cuts on the census, the tigress of Champawat literally subtracted 436 people after one hunter severely injured her. But don't think these stories only happen in Asia. On Christmas Day 2007 in the San Francisco Zoo, 3 men effed around and 2 found out. As for the third, well, you can't get a life lesson if you don't have a life. The 3 men had decided to taunt Tatiana, a 400-pound female Siberian tiger. Well, They learned two things that day. One is that a motivated tiger can jump well over 12 feet. And two, the 12.5-foot moat wall wasn't to keep the tiger in, but to keep people out. Because apparently out was always an option for Tatiana, who Super Mario jumped out of the enclosure and put the beats on all three men, maiming two of them and turning the third into a chalk outline. So yeah, a wild tiger might be the last animal you want to find out with in India, but a close second might be monkeys. Especially since monkeys and dogs have seemingly gone to war against each other. War is debatable because allegedly the monkeys massacred the dogs. According to residents, some monkeys even took to snatching puppies, carrying them up to a roof, and then letting gravity catch the body. And if you believe this story, then you believe that this all started.
I mean, dude, come on. Do you really think, I mean, there's a competition between, monkeys and dogs like that? I mean, it depends on the dogs, I guess. If the big German shepherds and a horde of them, I guess the situation will be different. But where are you going to find something like that? Your, common wild dogs versus, monkeys, come on.
Started after a pack of stray dogs mauled a baby monkey and the monkey mafia took it very personal. But we actually don't know for sure what caused this mass puppy homicide. Primates will often feed on the ticks living on animals of different species. So it's possible the monkeys weren't trying to get revenge, but were only after the ticks on the dog's fur. But there's also a chance that Cloudy with a Chance of Puppy was 100% intentional, especially since that seems to be a signature move for them. Earlier this year in India, a troop of monkeys jumped a family and snatched their 4-month-old son, who they proceeded to throw off a 3-story building. In a separate attack, monkeys broke into a home and dragged away a 2-month-old who had been sleeping next to his grandfather. The same monkeys ended up drowning him in a water tank. Yeah, monkeys can be malicious when they want to be, but anyone in Japan will tell you that. Cause right now, a Japanese city is currently under attack by a gang of Japanese macaques. Since July, nearly 60 people have been attacked and injured in the city of Yamaguchi, and the monkeys tend to go after babies, small children, and the elderly, the light work of the population. And the thing is, the traps they set aren't working because the monkeys don't seem to be after food. They're just doing it. And yeah, while this could be a coincidence, there's also a good chance this is revenge. See, monkeys and really primates in general have a sense of fairness and will lash out when they feel like they've been wronged. In experiments with capuchin monkeys, scientists found that when given unequal portions of food, the monkeys would seem to target and punish the individual that got the unfair share. It actually makes sense for
This makes me think that, the primal urges of revenge. Revenge is one of the primal urges, apparently, if this is the case, right? Because you would not associate just malicious intent with any wild animal. Usually they're just trying to survive as a group or whatever. So that makes me think that revenge is a primal instinct. And why it develop? I think it's because if someone or some group, is usually group mentality of the past, right? During the caveman's time, basically everything was in group. That's how it used to work, right? So whether it's animals, humans, cavemen, whatever, it's always a group of people. So if you want to save your group, I guess this is the kind of primal mentality develop over time. Like if somebody wronged you, there's a chance they'll wrong your whole group and basically make you extinct. So for survivability, revenge is one of the factors. In that way, you can erase the person who's a threat rather than you getting erased yourself. So whether you want it or not, you just have this kind of a revenge rage. I guess that's the case with these animals, monkeys, tigers, basically.
For a social animal to actively discourage inequity in the group. But when a monkey feels cheated, it becomes a much more dangerous monkey. In another experiment, one capuchin was given a grape while another was given a cucumber. Despite previously being happy with the cucumber, the monkey seemed to get offended when he saw his peer get a grape and refused to take the cucumber. He even started to become aggressive with his handlers. So
look, seriously, but look at the response of it, like this son of a...
when he saw his peer get a grape,
son of a, I'm gonna kill him.
He even started to become aggressive with his handlers. So yeah, primates don't like feeling slighted. If you don't believe me, jealousy and a birthday cake got this man mutilated by a pair of chimps. So I can't tell you exactly what started the monkey war in Japan, but I can tell you they probably have a reason. Speaking of reason, yeah, I kind of had to talk about that. So you probably know the story, but recap. An elephant traveled over 100 miles from a sanctuary and trampled a 70-year-old woman collecting water, only for that same elephant to show up to her funeral and further desecrate her corpse, and this time in front of her entire grieving family. Now I know I say this a lot on this channel, it's become one of my popular phrases, but this time someone literally got turned into a hashtag. Now a lot of people have claimed that this woman was involved in poaching and this was just the elephant playing equalizer. I don't want to say that because we don't know for sure, and there's a good chance the woman was just at a worse place at an even worse time for the elephant to show up and turn her into a trend. But here's what we do know. Asian elephants elephants often come into close contact with people, especially farmers, and conflicts often get them injured or put on a shirt. We know Asian elephants often get exploited for logging, entertainment, and poaching, so they have a reason to hate anything human. And we know an elephant doesn't forget. And it wasn't too long ago when an elephant in Thailand ripped a grown man in half and stood over the soul evacuated body for hours after that same man forced him to haul logs in the intense heat. So we know elephants ain't quick to forgive either. So with this story, we'll never know for sure if there was cause or coincidence, but let me put it this way. 100 miles and a guest appearance at a funeral is one hell of a coincidence. But that's gonna do it for this video. For more consistent content, be sure to follow my TikTok and Instagram. I try to post daily on both. And to watch videos before I post them, kindly consider...
So that only makes me think the elephant knew where they kind of live, where they're gonna, where they probably might held the funeral, right? For it to walk 100 miles, it can't know where people are going to be for 100 miles. I think it just knew. So elephant's memory is strong as well. Apparently, obviously, elephants is one of the big brains there. So yeah, damn, this is just fucked up, right? I mean, obviously, lots of these scenarios ends up, people dying basically, especially with that hunter thing, right? But like I said, of course, someone dying is fucked up. I would never comment on that. But at the same time, I cannot give any sympathy, right? Because if you're trying to kill an animal for sport or whatever, and that animal basically comes back and take a revenge, yeah. However, that was how a camel's bad habit can put you in a coffin. I think camel thing was caffeine, right? Because what else is in Coke, right? It's just flavor, carbonated water. I think it's caffeine. If the whole, I think per 100 ml is something like 9 or 10 milligrams of caffeine in Coke, I think. I could be wrong. So that was probably about 700, so like 70 or 100 milligrams of caffeine. I mean, maybe that's a lot for a camel or something, who knows. So it just probably got addicted to it. Or maybe he was just feeding it Coke like 2 or 3 times a day. That was a lot of caffeine, I don't know. But yeah. Right, if you like my next video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.